Hey guys, John here from John's DIY Playground. Today we're going to talk about a somewhat bad driving condition some of these Wranglers experience when they're lifted. This is a 2007 JK four-door Jeep Wrangler. It's called Death Wobble, and it can start out with something as subtle as a couple of small shakes of the wheel when you're going over bumps to full out like resonance and shaking that won't stop once it starts. So for me, in this 2007, I think that the early stages were always there, but the full-out death wobble I've only experienced a handful of times where I've actually had to stop the vehicle completely in order to get it to stop. So when would it happen? It would happen when I was going between 40 and 50 miles per hour, and I'd hit a bump either while moving straight on, or it seemed to be more chance of it happening more pronounced if I was in a kind of an easy turn to the left, not like I was turning a corner, but just a sweeping turn to the left. Other than that, I have Fox shocks. They're fairly new. I've had a lift kit since 10,000 miles. It's a cheap budget boost 2.5-inch coil lift kit, and no other real modifications to the suspension. So tires are also aftermarket. They're a little bit bigger. They're the BF Goodrich KO2s, and I used to have a bigger set of KO2s before this on the same factory stock 18-inch rim. That's it. It's 2007. Like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to replace the bolts, the two bolts on the track bar, and I will show you the track bar's location, what my old track bar looked like, the bolts, the original size versus the new size, and then the results. Let's get started. So this is what my original stock track bar looked like. They came with the Jeep along with the stock bolts. So the stock bolts have a 14mm diameter, and they're threaded the whole way across the bolt. And we'll get a little bit more into detail on that in a minute. But this would be on the driver's side of the front end and passenger side on the right. So the passenger side's got a flag welded to the nut to make it easier so one person without having two wrenches could assemble it. We're going to take that off completely and put a different kind of bolt on there without a flag. But yeah, this is the stock setup. The new one I replaced it with was also stock, but someone was replacing it on a newer Jeep. I can't remember what model year it was, but it has a slightly different shoulder design, which I'll show you in a picture in a few moments. This is a close-up of the old versus new. So on the left, I've got my current track bar that came stock, and the new one from the one that was donated to me, newer JK. The guy practically changed it right away, so there wasn't much wear on it at all. Inside the bushings, they didn't really look hobbled out, but when I put the newer bolts into the holes of each of these bushings, there's a lot less rattle or play of the bolt inside the bushing holes. So I'm really thinking it's a much better design to use the 9/16 bolt with, regardless if I use the stock track bar or the new one that I'm replacing it with. So it's a little hard to see, but this is the passenger side where the track bolt connects. This is the new bolt in place. Then over on the other side, driver's side, the track bolt is over here. A lot easier to get at. So a tip I can share with you guys is when you're trying to get to this other track bolt, depending on what kind of wrenches you got, if you turn the steering wheel all the way to the right, that'll pull some of the control rods out of the way and make them closer, so you might be able to access the bolt a little better. So you might try with a friend moving the steering wheel to the left or right, seeing if that gives you the space you need to get at that bolt head. I'm down in the lab now, and we got the old current setup here on top, what we're going to switch to here on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this micrometer I have, and I'm going to measure the diameters of this bolt and the new bolt, and we can do a little math. I'll show the comparison of the two. One thing to note too is this bolt on top, the stock one, like I said, is threaded all the way from the beginning of the head down to the end. This one's shouldered, and I think that makes a difference when you think about the amount of contact area you can have with the bushing inside the track bar. So there's a lot of things that could have been done differently. And again, when we're going to replace the passenger side nut, this is the flag nut. We're going to just use a regular nylock nut. I found these supplies and these bolts on a source on Amazon, which I'll put in the link to the video below. But let me measure this up and we'll do a comparison of the results.
So now looking at my actual measurements of the two different bolt types, we've got this row here which showing the stock bolt off of my Wrangler. It's supposed to be 14 millimeter nominal versus the new bolt which they're calling a 9/16. I measured the nominal actual measurement of the nominal 14 was 13.85, and the 9/16 is supposed to be 0.5625. It's a little bit smaller, 5.565 inches. So when you do the math, you're looking at a difference of the bigger bolt being 0.28 millimeters larger in diameter, which is equivalent to 11 thousandths of an inch larger. So you wouldn't think that that's much, but it's enough to possibly cause the death wobble. So you've got 11 thou right there from the one side, and then another 11 thou on the other side for two bolts. And then the other factor is I have different bushings now in the newer track bar. So between those two different changes, I found that the chance of this death wobble after a week of driving seems practically impossible to cause and have happen. I am still getting a little bit of bump steer sometimes on certain conditions, but I don't think it's anything that would go into resonance. So I highly recommend this change, and it's only about an hour or two of work maybe. I'll list the tools that I used, and again the new bolts where I got them off Amazon. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more videos when I make them. This is John from John's DIY Playground. Have a great day.